Jett Lawrence bobbled in the first corner.
Hunter Lawrence goes 1-3 for the overall. Oh, and he gets slammed.
Wow.
That was Levi Kitchen, an aggressive move, and they're both down. And you know Deegan is not happy about it.
You like that, RV?
Yeah, lots of action there in St. Louis, RC.
Oh, dude. Title 24 presented by NBC Sports. We got a good one. Me and RV are going to break it down. We got some great sponsor segments. Speaking of sponsors, let's thank United Motorsports, Quad Lock, Boxo, Cardo, and Dunlop on each of those segments. We got a heck of a lineup, and I think you guys are going to be stoked. Not sure if everything's going to be popular opinion, but it's our opinion, and we're bringing the heat today. I know RV dang sure will. But a little recap of SMX Round 2 World Championship Playoffs from St. Louis, and then we're going to give you some insight and plans on what we think or what some of the riders should do going into the final round of the SMX World Championship weekend in Vegas. Love it. RV, I think you're going, right?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. I'm still trying to figure out the kid's birthday. Seems to fall on this last SMX round. I got one telling me to do one, wanting to do one thing, and one wanting to do another. So we're still trying to debate about that, what our plan is. But yeah, potentially see me out there.
Yeah, let's hope that they can come to an agreement and they both want to go the same thing. Because selfishly, I want to see you guys.
Yeah,
And I know that the fans will for sure. Dude, let's rip the Band-Aid off, brother, and get right into it. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Everyone tuned in today for the podcast. I haven't even talked to RV about the weekend, so I am just as stoked to hear his thoughts. And we're going to go ahead and start with the United Motorsports moment of the week. And I know this is probably a surprise to some of you guys, hence my sarcasm right there. It's a collision in Moto 2. Was it dirty or was it not? And do we have a ton of questions on what you guys think our point of view is from what went down with Levi and Haiden there in Moto 2. We got a ton of video and why did this happen and all that fun stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you or ask you, RV, was it dirty and what's your thoughts on it, brother?
well, definitely Levi, kind of teed him up when it comes to that right-hand turn right after the sand there. Looking at the video, I've seen all the different angles of the Levi and Haiden crash as we're watching on screen currently for the ones on YouTube and Peacock. But, it wasn't a full T-bone. Levi came in pretty hot. I feel like right about now is when Haiden maybe should have felt or, been aware of the situation, especially because it was lap 1. I don't want to sit here and say it was a racing incident. Look, I've said this on the show before. You got to keep your enemies close when you're somebody like Haiden. And we've all heard everything that Hayden's talked about, how he speaks, a little bit of the demeanor that he has. And I'll be honest, if I was one of those other racers, I wouldn't be super stoked on just the way Hayden's kind of carrying himself. Yeah, he's whooping ass, so that's why he's able to do that. And I give Haiden credit on that side too. He's in the position to be able to do that. But in these 3 rounds of SMX playoffs, when it is compounding points as we go down the line, we're coming into Vegas for the last round of SMX. You got to have some guys that are in your pocket that you can rely on that are, potentially not going to throw it in there like that. And I think his time's kind of come up. I think Levi was over it. I think he ran it in on him. Was it hard? I think the issue that I have with it is he put himself on the ground. He didn't even execute what the goal was, and took Haiden out and himself out. So we can go back. We have lots of footage of obviously the Deegan-Davies and Haiden. We have Hampshire and Seth Hammaker. Yep. Haiden coming up on the inside. It's just not normal. It's normally Haiden putting those passes on the other riders, not Haiden getting getting that thrown in his direction. So I don't think it was dirty. I think it was right there on the line. I think if he would have had a little bit different angle and made a little more of an aggressive angle, I think it would have, you could say it was dirty, but no, I think it was racing. But I understand why AMA came in and, gave him the warning, the written warning. But as you can see, he comes in up the inside and he doesn't just fully come in there committed to where he gets on the brakes a little bit, comes in. Haiden just didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. Big picture real quick. And I'd like everyone to consider what RV's saying, whether you're a Kitchen fan or whether you don't like Deegan. And when I take away from what you said, which is awesome, is big picture. And he, how he's aggressive with riders, talking about Haiden and just his approach, whether, like he's strong arms people and, he takes advantage of certain opportunities. And that's right. He is, dude, he's dominant. I mean, he basically backs up everything that he says. On the flip side, exactly like you said, this is when that kind of mentality with your competitors can backfire on you. And honestly, while we're talking about that, I feel like Haiden understands that. Like, I feel like he is smart enough to know, and the people that he has around him are smart enough to tell him, like, listen, dude, if you're gonna talk smack and you're gonna approach your racing the way that you do, you have to be ready for what retaliation is going to look like in certain moments. And so I think that he knows that. I don't think that he was anticipating to happen in this situation. I didn't think that he thought that was going to go down, but I do think you have to have heightened awareness, and I think that he has that. And again, that is, RV, you've talked about it a million times on this podcast and to our fans, and that's the line that you play with. If you're gonna talk and you're gonna strong arm people and just basically take authority, some people are gonna call it bullying, whatever. You have to understand that these are the repercussions at sometimes, and sometimes those happen in critical moments like the playoffs, double points, and it stung. So now he's going into Vegas where he's going to need a little bit of help. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But I agree with you as far as comparing it. We had a ton of questions, like RV said. What's the difference in that move compared to Cole Davies and compared to Seth Hamaker and RJ Hampshire? And we have those. So Aaron, roll those two comparisons and we'll tell you straight up what we believe is the difference. So as we're watching the one from Colorado right now, the Cole Davies and Deegan run in. Okay, first of all, let's go big picture on this. All right. It was a championship opportunity. Deegan knew that he had to win, and he understood that if Cole was, I believe at the time, RV, it was outside of the top 5, that he could win the championship. You sat here, I sat here on this podcast, and we talked about the angle and what we deem dirty, gnarly, aggressive, kind of like on the verge of aggressive. We talked about the line and what that looks like in the angle. And he bumped Cole out of the way. It wasn't a straight T-bone. So that's my opinion on it. Where are you at with it?
Yep. Yeah.
And the difference. Sorry.
Yeah. No, exactly. Right there, RC. Like the angle here is much better than what Levi put on Haiden this last weekend, Saturday night. But the way Cole had to finish outside the top 5. It was for a championship race. He won the title this night. Haiden did. But it's also your teammate, right? So I know these guys aren't teammate. Angle's a little steeper here, but this is a playoff round. It's double points. It goes to triple points next weekend. When you look at it from this standpoint, and as you dissect it, I don't want to sit over here and say this is what Feldon AMA wants, but when you have the point structure that we currently have in SMX playoffs, you're going to get desperate moves made like this. And I think it's obviously very entertaining to watch. And as we know, just like points are set up currently, like Haiden is in a little bit of a tough spot after St. Louis, because of the point situation, as it just throws up on the screen. Joe was sitting 92 points and Hayden's 10 points down, Seth Hamaker 14 down, and Tom VL 25. So yeah, you're going to get some desperate moves, desperate actions when you have the point structure the way it is structured, and then even rolling into Las Vegas, the finale of SMX for the championship, you're probably going to see more of those moves, more of that desperation for that triple points Saturday night in Vegas, because it's so because of the amount of ground you can gain. In the end with the triple points, it's massive. So any position in front of the next guy is huge, a huge gain.
Can you roll the Hampshire Hamaker video and RV? I'd like for you to break down that one, and you tell them the big picture, and tell them where you're at with this, and compare it to what happened this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, once again, very similar. Hampshire did not execute this very well. Obviously, like I said, just like Levi, Hampshire comes up the inside of Seth, gets right up into the side of him, but they both go down. So the pass was not executed properly, hitting or not hitting. They ended up putting them both on the ground. I'll say it again. The Haiden and Cole and Hampshire and Seth. Definitely the angle wasn't as steep as what Levi ran it on to Haiden with, but all three of these passes we're talking about are very critical parts of the Supercross Championship Series and of the SMX Championship Series, right? So that's the thing that I think needs to be also looked at. I don't think, I'll say it again, I don't think Haiden teed him up as to say, hey, I'm coming in here, I'm putting this dude on the ground, whatever happens, I'm not, trying to break his leg type move. I don't think it was
intent. Yeah. I 100%.
I don't think it was that. I think it was, he's tired of listening to him. He's had his ass paddled many times by Haiden. Rightfully so. Haiden has the grounds to be able to do the things that he does, but regardless, having those grounds or not, you're going to have the whereabouts of something like this happening, some sort of retaliation from somebody, from one of his competitors, and it just happened to be Levi this weekend.
Well, so moving on to the Dunlop due diligence part of our show, I was wondering, during the broadcast, I'm like, as we're calling the race, RV, and I'm like, well, what spawned this, and why did Levi react this way? Because I wanted to give Levi the benefit of the doubt. You'd never see, this isn't in Eli's nature or Levi's nature. Even his personality, dude, right? He's super low key, great guy to be around with, fun dude to be around with. And this isn't just his MO. I think he's a clean, respectable racer. So, as we're calling the race, I'm like, damn, dude, maybe we missed something. So afterwards, we're looking and trying to find some footage. Maybe was there a retaliation by Levi that he didn't like? So I'm like, I took matters into my own hands, and I hate bugging these guys on Sundays, right? I try not to bug these riders hardly at all. I probably should talk to them a lot more, but I'm always like, dude, I don't want to bother them and try to think like I'm passing the trash. But I just felt like I didn't want to come on this podcast and assume I knew what he was thinking. And so Levi was extremely nice, and he texted back and he told me his point of view, and it wasn't nothing crazy. I mean, first and foremost, he basically said, without sitting here reading everything to you, he just basically said, I mean, it wasn't his full intent, like you said, to do what he did. And while I say that, he's like, first of all, I'm not very good at doing these kind of.
Yep, I read it. Yep.
Yeah. So he felt, and we have play of this, he felt like going through the first mulch rollers that Haiden looked over at him and moved over at him. So we have that, and I want you to dissect this video. Here it is from both views, RV, and
that's right there. You go down that.
Tell us if it was justified, and where you're at with this.
Well, I'll put it this way. If I'm Haiden, I'm doing the same thing on Levi. Like I said, I don't think there was anything wrong with the move that Haiden put on right here. Looked over, made sure he had clear room. He was gonna chop Levi off. He was gonna protect the inside. There was enough room there. I personally don't think if that's what spawned Levi to do what he did, I think that was how do I say it? A pretty bogus thought process on being like, oh, Haiden cut me off right here. That right there was total race scenario. RC, you would have done it. James would have done it. I would have done it. Chad would have done it. Every one of us would have.
So to answer that question, James and I said, and like, we're looking at stuff and we're like, damn, man, we really can't see anything. And this is like, until seeing these two views today with you on here, I've gotten even a better look. But going back to what Stu and I were talking RV, we're like, Levi's version of cutting people off, and I think a lot of the riders, not just Levi, cutting people off are a lot different than yours and I's were. Now, when I watched that, I feel a lot like you. Is he was looking over, when I say Haiden coming out of that corner, he was looking over to make sure that they wouldn't collide. Because why the hell would anyone want to cross jump anyone or in midair? You're subjecting yourself to a serious crash and possibly an injury, as well as the rider that you could possibly collide in. I think it was a heads up move, and I think that he eased over into that inside. I saw a ton of moves like this. I mean, he could have cut that corner off way tighter than that. And you know what, and I go back to, if you're a Levi fan, you're gonna disagree. If you're a Deegan fan, or just in general, you're open to watching and listening to what we say, that was a straight up racing move, and I guarantee you a lot of people would agree. That
was a perfectly executed pass out of the right hand sand turn down that little Dragon's Back mulch section. Made a sweet pass on Levi, looked over, made sure, like to what you said, RC, not going to cross jump or get landed on. The biggest thing right here, okay, if he wants to cross jump him, that's one thing, and he can go and do that. Obviously, it's not great etiquette from a racing standpoint. But the biggest thing is Haiden would have been on the losing end of that stick if he would have cut over a lot harder, because Levi would have landed on him. And who's on the bottom of that would have been Haiden. So I don't think he put himself in that position to do any harm in that regard. I think he was just straight up racing. Okay, I got room right here. I have 2 more miles an hour coming out of the sand. I'm going to come over. I'm going to look before I do it. And I'm going to close the door on Levi.
Yeah, and I'm giving you guys cliff notes. And so Levi, again, thanks a bunch for getting back to me. It's like, it wasn't just that move, like when he was telling, in that text, it was a buildup of everything. I mean, I understand from Levi's side. I mean, it's been, in a year that probably he'd like to forget. He had a gnarly injury. Glad that he came back from that at Daytona, and just like, he's just tired of it. And
yeah, and
I think it was just, dude, Haiden caught him at a bad time. If it was anyone other than Haiden, because of how Haiden is, like, Levi says he respects him as a racer. He says he's a great racer, and his accomplishments, didn't say accomplishments, but he respects that. But outside of that, he doesn't agree with his approach. And I think most of the people in his class don't. And I just think he got him at a wrong time, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, and they've had a little bit of beef, or early Supercross this year, into a little bit of outdoors before Daytona. I think also they were battling back and forth. There was some little bit of words said here and there, like early this season. So I think like you said, RC, a bit of buildup. But it is what it is. It put Haiden in a little bit of a tricky spot. Not to mention, the exit pass was not executed. So now Levi's even in a worse spot than Haiden. So, it didn't work out for either of them.
No, it didn't. And talking about, so like all this buildup and the things like that have been going on with Levi, and some of the, the rivalry between those two guys, and the chirping going back and forth, most of the stuff coming from Deegs. It caught him at a a bad point, but also for the Boxo breakdown. Now we're going to switch gears and talk about what happened at the beginning of the show. And I'm kind of going off cue here, guys, and not hitting the boxousa.com. Make sure you head over to boxousa.com and check out their website. I always talk about its lifetime guarantee. It's a super easy process. If you have a tool that broke or something like that, a ratchet, you can send it in and they'll send you a new one. Pretty cool. So go to boxousa.com. And of course, I'm going back in time to the United Motorsports. Head over to unitedmotorsports.com/title24 and sign up. If you sign up, you get a credit towards your first purchase, and then you will be automatically entered into their drawing that they do each week for a $15 credit towards your next purchase. So going back to the Boxo breakdown, to pile on of what has happened to Levi and just being at the wrong place at the wrong time, we go back to the practice start in practice. Whiskey Throttle media got a pretty good shot from it, from the front and the back. And they feel like, when I say they, Mitch was pretty pissed about what happened there on the practice start, and felt like Haiden gave the 92 some elbow grease, and that's what caused all of this, and in turn hurting Levi's back. Where are you at with it? Where are you at with this? And the footage is as good as it can be, all things considered. I think it's enough footage for me to say I'm not blaming Haiden for all of this.
So I'll start it off like this. This is practice, by the way, for our listeners. And I know that it's always good to get out and, get a good gate drop, for the practice standpoint alone. But as you can see, all of these racers racing into the first turn with 0 on the line, no points, no money, no nothing. And we see this quite often. I'd say we get 2 or 3 a year or a season that we get a first turn crash in practice. So, for what I think about that is, if you don't have the wheel in practice going off of that gate, you better be pulling out of it, because there's nothing on the line. This is what exactly can happen. Max.
Whoa. From that angle, dude, it looks like the 100 leans into the 1, and that forces the 1 into the 92.
Yeah, I think Max didn't have the greatest jump, so he's a little bit back. Same with Haiden. You had Cole with the wheel on Haiden, and then from the front view, it just looks right here, from this view right here, Max and Haiden just got together. It's obviously Hayden's throttle hand.
Watch the 100. Watch the 100.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. He goes over to there, pushes the 1 into the 92. Watch, right? Boom, there. And then Hayden's like, oh shit. And then he goes into the 92, and then his elbow's under. But yeah, Haiden is like, get off me,
And I saw the interview from Mitch. I saw, I've heard all the stuff, he was, upset about it. I personally do not see anything that Haiden did in that particular moment right there that would have spawned anything, obviously, in the future that we just got done dissecting. I think that was a start incident. I think, like I said before, there's nothing on the line other than, I guess, bragging rights, I guess, to be up front in practice. But that is a particular moment that these riders put themselves in every single weekend, that they better be very damn smart, because just look at Max, for example, elbow, Levi, his back. It's a very critical spot there that things can happen when there is 0 reward for it in the end.
100%. And this is a thing and I was thinking, there's a lot of heat about the Triple Crown format. And a lot of the bigger complaints that we get on the Triple Crown format, RV, as you know, is, well, we got to do a third start, right? That's dangerous. And it's just another start and an opportunity for something to go wrong. So like you're saying, it's a practice start. you don't have to do this practice.
RC, I was just going to ask, is there a rule that you can't hold back and just do your not a gate drop, but your own leaving of the grate when it's just you can't spend obviously 10 minutes waiting, but if the gate drops, the 22 riders go and 3 seconds later you leave on your own and you leave last. Is there a rule?
I see guys all the time waiting. I don't think that there is. That'd be silly if there was a rule.
I would think
my
so
opinion,
too.
Putting someone like you have to do a start in practice. I don't know. Like, I'm with you. Like, if you don't get the jump on that practice start, your best thing to do, like you said perfectly, roll the hell out. It's just not worth it.
And you know right away, there's no sense in fighting for that position for track position in practice. As soon as that clutch releases, as soon as that gate drops, if you're in the game or if you're out of it. So that's what I think. I think it's I think this was stupidity when it comes to all of these riders. Obviously there was only a few that ended up down, Levi and Max, but it very well could have been Haiden. He was very close to being in that mix also,
but he got on the brakes really quick. Did you see that? As soon as he got closed out by the 100, right here, then he's like, oh, I'm slowing down. And then that's why he avoided it. Like there, he's like, nope, I'm stopping. He's on the binders.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think the guys need to be a little bit smarter. I know that they want the practice start. I know they want that clutch release off the grate. For the main events, another practice start is always good, but you got to be smarter than what just played out there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree. Like I saw Mitch there on Swap Motos where I saw that from.
Yep.
And I think if Mitch saw, Mitch just as good as I do, if not better. I think if Mitch saw that from behind footage, I think you got to catch him at the right time. But I think he might change his mind about that was all Hayden's fault.
Yeah, I see no fault in Haiden in that particular section, or that what we just went through, what we just dissected. It was just a first turn incident.
Yeah. That was. I hate to see that too, especially I was down on the track, and I saw Max getting on the Alpine Star medical unit, the little mule, and I could see that right elbow, and it just, it didn't look right. I hate seeing stuff like that, dude. It was so nasty. Yeah. So it sucks because I think Max has had a great season. I mean, you consider, dude, a handbrake and everything. I hate that for you, Max. I hope that everything will be pretty straightforward. I think I read that it's a pretty straightforward injury.
Yeah.
Crazy. So hate that for you, buddy. You've been doing a great job, and a lot to look forward to for him, next season. I think he'll do even better. Dude, we pretty much, as far as the crash goes and all the drama, you think we got it covered?
Yeah, anything I think else? We do. I mean, we didn't mention Joe, right? Like, I want to say, like, Joe rode phenomenal. We know he was a little under the weather. He put himself in two great positions with both gate drops and in the overall finish. He's in, and then obviously with the Levi and Haiden. So now he's sitting pretty, right? Like it's not nothing is a done deal. Obviously things have to go right for Joe, but I like the position that Joe's in. He rode phenomenal. I will say also too, like, man, when I turned the broadcast on, I got to see that St. Louis track and the way it was forming. I liked how it went outside. Like, I don't know. I was, and also just going off of from the speedway, from the coverage that we get from the speedways, from the track designs that we get from the drag strip speedway style, being back in the stadium, the technology that the stadium has for the cameras and the producers, and just the way the track was laid out and developed. I was pretty stoked on what, the quality, or the product that we were watching. It was fun to see. It was cool to watch. Like, I was stoked for Saturday night after getting to watch the broadcast. Like, I thought that track developed very well. It raced well. It seemed much bigger, obviously, because it was going outside of the stadium. But yeah, I thought the SMX track crew did a great job with that track. And I'm looking forward to see what happens in the future, if we keep going to drag strips, or if we make a little adjustment and we're going to be more back into stadiums for these SMX rounds.
Yeah, imagine an SMX round be tough because of football, and scheduling and everything. But when I was thinking of, could you imagine an SMX round in Glendale because of how big the floor space is? That'd be pretty.
Yep. No, so I think there's some cool things, right? Like, I think going off of also what we saw for round one, and just the way the track developed there and all of that. And we know these guys are running 100% Supercross suspension. I've heard it more than one time. There's none of this hybrid stuff anymore. None of, are we going to run outdoors? Are we going to run Supercross suspension? All of these riders are running Supercross suspension. So I thought the racing was, and what I saw and the quality of the track, I thought it was probably more the direction that we'll see in the future, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I thought it was a great product. I didn't have any expectation or anything like that going there. And I agree exactly with what you said. I thought it was a great product. I thought it raced better than what I thought it would, straight up. When I first saw it, it looked like a really fun racetrack to race, especially if you were in the lead. But I wasn't too optimistic about how it would work out from a passing standpoint. But you nailed it. Like, yeah, the SMX track crew did a great job. It did create more passing than what I thought it was going to. And overall, it just looked like it was a fun track to ride. And normally I feel like when it's a fun track to ride, the racing is always better for some crazy reason. And again, I thought for sure, I'm like, this track's going to suck for passing, but it was good. It was good for sure. All right. So kind of shifting gears into the SMX World Championship round in Vegas this weekend. The quad lot question of the week is a really good one, and I love the question, and this is why it's the winner, is because I think it will give a lot of people some insight and hear our view of how we would approach it. But the winner is Z Wiley 13. Congratulations, Z Wiley 13. You are the winner of the quad lot question of the week here on Title 24. Great question. What would be your next move to lock down the championship if you were in the 38's shoes? If you are Haiden Deegan. Okay, so great question. Here's what's at stake, RV. If Joe wins, obviously he wins a championship. Wins a championship. If Haiden gets 2-2, or if Haiden goes 1-1 and Joe gets 2-2, Joe wins the championship by 1 point. Okay.
Yeah.
So if Haiden goes 1-1 and Joe gets third, then Haiden wins the championship, I believe. So if you're the 38, you know what's at stake. Tell me exactly what your race strategy would be.
Well, he's really got two options, two or three options, really. He gets out front, he goes 1-1, and he doesn't get up in the mix with, I guess call it drama. And he lets the cards fall the way they're going to fall with no real involvement in it. He just goes and races. The second is, I think that, it all depends on the start. And I know you don't want to say we beat it to death about got to get a start, put yourself up front in that position. But I think the perfect scenario for Haiden is if he can come out around, say, 5th through 8th in one of those motos, and he has to come through the pack and Joe's in front of him. Now, if Joe gets the whole shot and Hayden's 8th, to bridge that gap may be tough in 20 minutes. But if he can put himself behind Joe and he has to race to the front, and he's able to come up on Joe and run him wide, put one of those moves that he put on Cole on Joe, or same thing that Seth did to, or Hampshire did to Seth, but obviously executes it properly and comes out on top. And Joe's the one that is on the ground in the turn, obviously respectfully, then he can put himself in a position to win. And then the third is that something like another one of these riders gets involved and gets in the mix. The thing is I don't see Joe having any enemies on the track. I think Joe is a lovable guy, likable guy. I think there's a lot of guys that would rather see Joe win than Haiden. So I don't think anybody gets involved with Joe in either of those motos. So I think the perfect scenario is Haiden starts 5th, Joe starts 2nd, 3rd, whatever. He bridges the gap and he takes his destiny in his own hands at that point. But if not, Joe's riding well enough to go 2-2. Haiden, as we know, Hayden's won more races than anybody else. Haiden can go 1-1. And if the cards fall where they fall, he loses. So that's very, very hard question to answer, Z Willie 13, because you don't want to race behind you. I think there's enough educated people in this sport that can call that out right away if he starts racing behind him and trying to affect the race behind. And then that has a repercussion for that too, right? Like, how does that look? I think, and I've said this before, that Haiden walks a very fine line on, he has major Haiden follower, Deegan fans, but he's also got some haters on the other side, which that's here nor there. But he is moving up to the 450 class. I think he needs to, if it were me in my career, I want to leave with my best foot forward moving into the 450 class.
You've said it a million times on here, and you just talked about it now. And listen, Haiden is a badass, and he is very, very talented. And regardless if you agree with his approach or not, these are the times where when you make enemies on the track, this is where it'll rear its head up in crucial moments like this. And this is what you're seeing. It's basically, I would say 98% of that field is against him, and we'll work against him this weekend. And it is going to be really, really hard for him to win this world championship without him doing something himself or getting help from anyone else on that line, because he's created this. And again, I go back to, I think he knows that. But like you said, this is, it's a slippery slope, and this is where the rubber meets the road for him. And it's either going to work for him because he goes out there, he goes 1-1, and, Joe has some, misfortunes, but you can never depend on that.
No,
Joe's been so good. He's rock solid. I think he has some insurance when it comes to speed against everyone else other than Haiden. So if I'm Joe, I'm pretty stoked in that department. Yeah, it is what it is. And RV, you've been right. Like at some point, you got to pay the piper, and this is where we're at. And it's going to be fun to watch it go down. Zach Wiley, Zach, thanks, dude. Appreciate the question. You're a 2-time winner, by the way. You won in 2023. You've won the Baja 1000 and the Best in the Desert series. So great job there. That's awesome, dude. Those are gnarly races, by the way. But going back to that, I agree with you. It's so I did an interview for me and James did an interview for the Big Interview show on the Insiders. It'll be, I think, goes down on Wednesday or Thursday, pardon me, every Thursday. But they asked, like, hey, what's your plan? And I verbatim, I'm giving you cliff notes, but I basically just said, dude, if you're Haiden, this is what I would do. I would go try to win the first moto, and then the second moto, if Joe, assuming Joe gets second, the first moto, I mean, dude, it's for the championship. You have to give him, you have to be a little aggressive with Joe. If you guys, if you're 1-2, you have to.
Yep. And I think RC, I think a quick right out of the gate style is line up on the inside of Joe, line up right on the inside of Joe. You got to get the jump on him. And if you can pinch him off right out of the gate, puts him back in, say, 10th, because he's going to, if you can shut the door on him right out of the gate, get a grip in front of him and move over on him, and where he's got to get out of the throttle, it puts him outside the top 10. And that's a perfect normal strategy. I don't know how many times James has done it to me, or I've done it to James, or I've done it to Barsha, or anybody lined up next to me.
I know I've done it.
Yep. If I can get a grip on that dude, I'm moving over to where he's got to shut off. And I think that's the most, the most reasonable, simple.
That's the cleanest way for sure.
Cleanest way from a fan's perspective and a racer's perspective to stay out, also to make sure that you don't jeopardize yourself making some move out on the track by, taking somebody out, or, that's what we're talking about. Is we're talking about Haiden taking Joe out to put himself in a position to win. I think you line up next to him, you jump him on the gate, and you move over, you get it to where he's got to shut off. I think that's the simplest, cleanest way for him to make sure that Joe can't get to second in Moto 1. And he goes 3-1, 3 whatever, and Haiden can go 1-2.
See, no, I'm the opposite. Like, as far as the strategy, I think you got to do that. I think you got to wait and do it on the second moto.
Or there, yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're Haiden, you got to win Moto 1. And then, because you can't give Joe an opportunity to retaliate. And that's why I think you do it best. It's best if you do it in the second moto, because that's what I think.
No, you're correct. You're correct. If you go do it in the first moto, you still got a whole nother line of a whole nother race, a whole 20-minute moto, another start. And I think you're right. If you can get it, if he can go out, execute race 1, wins, then race 2. And then at that point too, do you even have to do it in Moto 2? Do you even have to make that option?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. Maybe Joe messes up in Moto 1, then you don't have to do anything. Just go out and get a good start, win,
and execute.
Bingo. So if they go 1-2 the first moto, then Haiden knows, okay, I at least got to cut this dude off, and hopefully he gets 3rd overall and I win the championship. Or if for some reason you don't get that jump on him, then you're gonna have to you're gonna have to give him a little grease. And it doesn't have to be dirty. It could be something, it could be just a light little nudge into a tough block.
Yep. Yeah. So that's Z Wiley 13. That's what I think. I think that's what you do. To answer the actual question is if you do it first moto, great. If you do it second moto, I think what your point is, RC, is even better than is to execute Moto 1, Moto 2. If the card's still live that you need a little extra, you line up next to him and you shut his door right out of the gate. And that puts him in a position to where he's got to move through the pack. And then you let the cards fall at that point.
Yeah. Amen. Good question. And you know what, though? But you talked about it earlier in the show, RV, is like with how the points are in the SMX playoffs, it's put riders in these positions, and you see it happen in the NASCAR Cup Series and their stages and rounds, if you will, of how it's a round of 16 and a round of 12 is like, and the drivers are open about it. They're like, listen, NASCAR's put us in this position to have to dump a dude to get into the playoffs, or make it to the next round. And it sucks that, it doesn't suck, but that's the position that they're in this particular situation. It's fun for us sitting in the booth or watching in the stands. It's drama. It's doing what it's designed to do. And I don't know, man. Oh, so good. Congratulations, Zach. Appreciate the support. Hell of a question. That's you got RV and I's plan. If we were the 38, we'll see how it works out. It's going to be interesting. Execution is definitely going to be key. Let's move over to the 450, RV.
Yep.
What do you think about old Hunter? Hunter getting the damn job done, bro.
Yeah, he's right, dude. I actually was thinking this the other day. Like, I don't know if Hunter can beat Jett straight up from a series standpoint, like a 17-round Supercross series or an 11-round outdoor series. Just the way the points are set up, the amount of races they have, Jett's just too good. I think for the long term. But this is like right up Hunter's alley right? Consistent, is there every weekend, the compounding points. Like, I think that that Hunter's, number one, he's riding so well right now. He's consistent, like I just said. But the way the SMX playoffs has worked out, I could definitely see Hunter winning this championship. I know, what's he, 5 points down currently?
6.
6
He's 6
points.
points. So basically, it's similar to last year,
Yep.
RV, where he has whoever wins the championship out of those two guys.
Yep. So this is the closest series that I think that, like, the way it's set up and it's designed to do, like you just said, is perfect for somebody like Hunter. He's not blazing quick a lot of the times, but he's quick enough, consistent, that he was putting all kinds of pressure all over Eli. Eli was then pressuring Jett towards the end of Moto 2. Once that was almost wrapped up. But yeah, I think he's riding phenomenal. I think that one little mistake by Jett, and he doesn't get up, doesn't bridge that gap to, say, second place or whatever. And Hunter being as consistent as he is, I definitely think we could see Hunter winning this championship. It's obviously going to have to go his way. He's going to have another solid weekend. But I'm stoked for him. I think it's good to see him get that overall on Saturday night. He said he needs to put some cash in the bank, building a house, put some new stuff in there, make it, spruce it all up. But no, I think he's riding phenomenal, man.
He is. Dude, I just thinking. So, last year they split and it was a tie and Jett won because he won the overall. And I really you hit the nail on the head with, as far as, like, listen, I mean, Jett is faster. Jett is definitely faster than Hunter. But we've talked about it a million times, and this weekend's a perfect example of that. Not always is the fastest guy win championships. I really like Hunter this weekend because, on an average, I feel like his starts have been better than Jett's. And I like the mental side of Hunter and how he doesn't get too wrapped around the axle. There's no, the highs aren't too high, the lows aren't too lows. We talked about it on the broadcast, and he just goes out there and does the best that he can. And if he gets a good start, I always feel like when I'm watching the starts before the gate drops, RV, I always feel like Hunter's just gonna get a good start, and I'm never really super, like, confident that Jett's gonna get the whole shot every time, like I am Jett, or like I am Hunter. And all it takes is, like you just said, well, you didn't say it, but you're like, all it takes is if Hunter gets a good start and Jett is like P5 and can only get to third, and say Eli's riding really well, and I think Hunter's riding better than he's ever ridden. How well he rode this weekend and caught up to Eli from behind and was all up in the mix and then dominated Moto 1. He has got the speed to at least get second, when it always hasn't been like that for him. So that could be Jett's worst nightmare, is that, Hunter gets the whole shot, he's out front, Eli's having a killer run, Jett gets buried in the back like he did this week. Anything can happen, dude.
That's what I was going to reference, RC. Just like Saturday night, gate drop 1, Jett crossed the line as on the screen right now. Jett circled, he crossed the line in 21st out of the first turn. As you see Hunter putting himself in a great position straight to the lead. That's all that needs to happen this next weekend in Vegas for Hunter to win this SMX World Championship. Is that right there? Nothing dramatic, nothing massive, just a mistake on Jett's part on the gate. And if Hunter can execute 2 starts, he gets the overall finish. Boom, there it is. He's the world champ.
Yeah, it's going to be unreal. I thought Kenny did good. No surprise there. If you think about what St. Louis has meant to Kenny, remember he won in 2020, I believe it was, coming back from over 1,000 days since he'd won his last race from the gnarly injuries. So no surprise. It was cool in there as well. So I mean, you obviously got to have a tremendous amount of fitness, but it was much cooler there than it was for all the riders. And again, Kenny's another one of those guys that could get in between Hunter and Jett. You know, Kenny is plenty capable of winning, or at least running up front for majority of both motos. That could be a thorn in Jett's side, if assuming Jett doesn't get a good start.
Mm.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. There's multiples, man. There's Kenny. I mean, every one of those, right?
32, Eli.
Yep. Eli, RJ, Kenny. They put themselves in a good position. Those dudes aren't easy to pass. All those top 5 guys are riding very, very well right now. But I think Hunter's going to need a little bit, as we just saw the points. He's 6 points down, so he's going to need a little bit of a favor from Jett, a mistake from Jett, as there's a points again. Jett sitting with 91, Hunter 6 down, Eli 16 down, Chase Sexton 23 down, and then Cooper Webb 24, Justin Cooper 27, and actually everybody's pretty close down to RJ Hampshire sitting 8th. He's 30 down from Jett.
Yeah, RJ rode well this weekend too. Dude, I'm so pumped on him, like, and what he's been able to show us through since going to the 450. He's been great, dude.
I agree. For his first, full, and next year will be his first full season 450. But you said it on the broadcast. We've said it here. You've said it a lot, RC. Like, just the move to that 450 for RJ has dramatically calmed him down. We haven't seen the mistakes or the urgency like we saw on the 250. I think the 450 suits him much, much better for sure.
Yeah, I do too. I think, I mean, looking at it, he's got a lot of great years ahead of him on that 450, and he's only going to get more comfortable, and he's only going to get better. I think if he makes it through Supercross good and healthy, I think he's going to do really well in the 450 outdoors. I really, really believe that. And great to see. Good job. So last thing, cleaning up on the 450, and I reach out to their management. But anyhow, dude, I think we have some video, or do we not have video, like when we were on the broadcast, of what happened to Sexton on the last lap? And here we are watching, like, he's not doubling or anything like that. I'm assuming now that I've seen that, and he's rolling all these jumps and why he went back so far, there must have been a bike problem.
I mean, that's the only thing, RC, that would give us that, assumption. Obviously we're assuming right now. We haven't heard any talks or any post race of why at this point, but yeah, to miss that double, to miss the little double before, actually that whole straight, all 3 of those jumps in a row right there, rolling them, it has to be some sort of bike issue. Obviously broadcast didn't catch it because we had RJ making a pass, and then we had the main camera obviously on Jett clinching the overall,
and Eli and Hunter in a gnarly battle.
Yep. So very interesting.
Good catch, Aaron.
It's I don't even know what to say at this point. It's got, like you said, it's got to be some sort of bike issue. At this point, that's what I would have to say, right? I would have to say it's got to be a bike issue. Or something like that keeps him from even circulating around the track, jumping the jumps slower. Maybe it's not full race pace, but you're circulating around the track, jumping the jumps. But to miss those very basic doubles, something was going on. That's for sure.
Yeah, I hadn't saw that particular view. Great grab, Aaron. Yeah, I think that settles it, because I was wondering at first, before I'd even seen that, I'm like, there's no way that guy like rolled out and he thought it was a checkered and it was only the white flag, but yeah, now that he didn't jump anything, that sucks. It sucks overall, like, just because, he's departing Red Bull KTM, and just knowing Chase a little bit and just like seeing how determined he is, I would assume that he would want to go out with a bang and leave riding high, with that Red Bull KTM, and most importantly, just for himself and to send a message to everybody to win this world championship, right?
I agree. It's a tough one. It's going to be very interesting in the next, I'm sure media is going to be all over it, rolling into Vegas, rolling into the last round, right? Like, Chase, what happened? Give us some feedback. So I'm assuming something will come of it, and we'll be able to dive into it a little bit more. But yeah, very interesting. Like you said, he's got one last round of SMX, and then obviously Motocross of Nations, and then he will be over at Monster Kawasaki with a whole new team, new bike, and obviously we know what that entails. RC, there's going to be a big learning curve with that too. The team learning him learning the team, him learning the bike, the do's, the don'ts, what he likes, what he doesn't like. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a stellar end of his Red Bull KTM stint.
yeah, bummer. And then too, like, even the playoffs last year, remember what happened when he got landed on there? That sucks. Well, damn. Hey, guess what, everybody? We got a new segment. It's for Cardo Communications, and it's called Call on Comms for Cardo. And so if you're going to make the call and give one rider some advice heading into the World Championship Finals this weekend, what's one piece of advice that you would give, whether it's 250 or 450? Who would you like to give your expert advice to, and what would it be?
Well, I mean, look, I think I know this one kind of goes back up to the top. The Haiden advice, like I think that right now for me is the biggest news, is the most hot topic for me, and I think we gave you that, I guess, that answer early on in the show is line up on the inside of him, after first moto, execute, like you said, RC, execute that first moto, get that win, and then line up on the inside of Joe and force him into a mistake. If you jump him, then you move over on him, and you kind of create your own destiny at that point. Everything else that I see currently is pretty straightforward. That's the one right now on the fence. That's the one right now that I think is the most critical, and obviously the most entertaining one to watch. Also, the most entertaining race to watch is the 250 class. And what's going to happen? Is Haiden going to win this? He's won a lot of races and a lot of championships in his 250 career. And he's on his way out to go to the 450 for next year, 26 outdoors. He will defend his 250 championship for Supercross, but then he's on his way out. So I think that's the biggest one. Call on comms from Cardo. I think we've discussed the comms a lot. I think Cardo's the head of the field when it comes to that kind of technology and how, right, and how and when. The question is when we implement it.
That's right, dude. It's going to be hopefully soon enough. I was hoping that they would test it in the SMX rounds, is what I was hoping for.
Yep.
But hoping one, and like
horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's going to be good. Can't wait to see all the fans. That place was popping last year. Vegas, in my opinion, is a great place to have the SMX World Finals. Even when the Supercross Finals were in Vegas, it's just a hell of a place to be, and a lot of fun to celebrate if you're on the good side of winning. So hopefully you guys like the show. But before we go, and thank all our sponsors, roll the Motorsports on NBC's banner. Here we go. Big week. We got 3 p.m. as you guys know, the Insiders with Weege and JT. That'll be on their YouTube channel Thursday, 3 p.m. Saturday is on Saturday practice, 4:30 Eastern. Race day live, practice and qualifying live on Peacock. 9:30. We have a special pre-race show on Peacock. That's 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. The SMX World Championship Final championship weekend in Vegas. That'll be live on USA Network and Peacock. And then Sunday, a.m. Eastern, is the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Championship Battle on the Bricks. That'll be live on NBC and Peacock. And then 2 p.m. Eastern, NASCAR Cup Series round of 12 at Loudon, New Hampshire. That'll be on USA. This is round 2 of the Cup Series. Some guys were eliminated this past weekend in Bristol, but a great weekend on Motorsports on NBC. So make sure you check that out. Anything else you want to talk about? my good.
No, buddy, I think that was a jam-packed Title 24 podcast. Lots of action, man. And
I think I think we were pretty nice and I think we're pretty honest and explain both sides of the coin today. Not not taking anyone's side. I think it was pretty good myself personally.
Well, that's right. We're the only ones that matter, RC.
Well, I hope you guys, dude, I hope you're there.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm trying to get an answer out of the kids and the wife on what we're doing. You'll be hearing from me shortly here soon on what my plan is. I definitely want to get out there, but boys are turning 9 on I think it's actually it's this weekend. So you know how that goes. Family always comes first, and we'll see. I'm gonna try to persuade them.
Amen. You got you want to make any predictions? Well, who you got, or you don't have to, because you know me, I damn sure ain't making no predictions. I just want
it's I mean, it's not a prediction. It's common knowledge, right? It's hard to bet against Jett, and it's hard to bet against Haiden. Where if the points weren't sitting like they were in the 250 class, I'm going to say you're not betting against Haiden. But because of the situation that is in front of them going into Vegas, it adds a lot more spice to it than if the points were as we know, like right now, something has to kind of go Hayden's way a little bit. And if it's forced by him, or if it's Joe making a little mistake, and that could just be a bad start, as we know. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't have any predictions at this point, but I don't do a lot of gambling, but if I was a gambler, it's hard to bet against those two.
Yeah. Hence they are 2-time back-to-back SMX World Champs. Also, I can tell you this much, at least the 450 boys are going to have some good racing to watch when they're on the line, huh?
That's right.
That's awesome.
That is right.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, United Motorsports, Quadlock, Boxo, Cardo, Dunlop. We appreciate you guys. It's been a hell of a season. I think it's going to be a doozy this weekend in Vegas for sure. Triple points. I love the SMX format for this reason. Look at it's you can't deny it. We're coming down to basically whoever wins the championship for the most part. So that's something to be excited about, looking at the big picture. Remember, you can listen or watch us on Peacock, where it's on demand, or you could also watch us on Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page, and of course we're on all the podcast applications as well. We appreciate all the support. Congratulations to Zach Wiley on the Quadlock winner, and we'll do a wrap up of the 2025 SMX World Championship next weekend after we crown some world champs. So thank you guys, everybody, for all the support and the love for RV and I.